Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. Want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with another update coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got a very big lineup of news to brief you all on today. Today's date is July 2nd, 2025, and it's Wednesday. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful day today. We've got a lot of news to get into in today's update, so I want to get right into this. We're going to start out with very bad news out of the U.S. that just broke yesterday evening, and the Department of Defense is going to be halting major aid shipments over to Ukraine effective immediately. So we're going to start out with this story here on your screen. U.S. freezes critical air defense and precision weapon shipments to Ukraine. The White House confirmed Tuesday that President Trump's administration froze the shipment of some air defense and precision-guided weapons that were on track to be sent to Ukraine. So this is very bad news. We're actually going to talk a lot about this throughout the duration of this video. I've got numerous reports coming out from Ukraine. What is Ukraine saying? What is Russia saying? Why did the U.S. freeze these shipments? Allegedly, it's due to they're stating that they have dwindling stockpiles of a lot of these critical weapons. We're going to go over some of the weapons that have also been delayed here or paused for the moment to go over to Ukraine. So this is definitely not good because these are critical weapon shipments that allow Ukraine to not only defend their skies, but hold the Russians back on the front line. And this is all at the same time while the Russians are launching major attacks. I mean, we saw some of the largest attacks onto Ukraine back in the month of June. And on top of that, the Russians have been gaining, land on the front line. So this is not good news inside of Ukraine, but we're going to talk a lot about this today. So we're going to go ahead and dive right into this. We're going to hop in over here real quick to a mainstream news report to give you guys information regarding the Department of Defense pausing these weapon shipments over to Ukraine, and then we'll jump on over to X, and we're going to go over lots of independent news over there as well. So Kiev Independent today says, as Russia ramps up missile attacks, U.S. halts promise air defense shipments to Ukraine. Date today, July 2025 is when this was reported. And it says right here, the U.S. Defense Department, DoD, has halted shipments of some air defense missiles and other weapons previously promised to Kiev out of concerns over the size of U.S. stockpiles, Politico reported on July 1st, citing sources familiar with the matter. The suspension comes as Ukraine faces a shortage of air defense munitions, along with increasingly intense and deadly Russian bombardments. In June 2025, Russia launched 5,337 Shahed-type drones at Ukraine, shattering its previous monthly record. Pentagon Policy Chief Elbridge Colby made the decision to pause the aid deliveries after conducting a review of U.S. munitions stocks. Three sources told Politico. Colby was reportedly concerned about dwindling levels of artillery rounds, air defense missiles, and precision munitions. Among the items being held back from Ukraine are Patriot air defense missiles, precision artillery rounds, Hellfire missiles, drones, and other missiles that Ukraine launches from F-16 fighter jets. If you notice, these are all very critical munitions that Ukraine uses to defend their skies from constant drone attacks and also to hold the Russians back on the front line as well. It says here, Colby made the decision in June amid a surge in Russian mass aerial attacks against Ukraine. The White House later confirmed the pause. The Pentagon's decision was made to put America's interests first following a DoD review of our nation's military support and assistance to other countries across the globe. White House Deputy Press Secretary Anna Kelly said in a statement issued after Politico published the story. The strength of the United States Armed Forces remains unquestioned. Just ask Iran, she said. Since his inauguration in January, U.S. President Donald Trump has not approved any additional military aid packages for Ukraine. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth also announced recently that the U.S. will reduce the total aid it sends to Ukraine in its upcoming defense budget. At the NATO summit in The Hague in late June, Trump said he would see if the U.S. could supply Kiev with additional missiles for its Patriot systems. So there is more information on this article. I'll cite it down below for you guys, but you can clearly see here the U.S. is slowly pulling away its support for Ukraine. This is the second time, from what I understand, that the U.S. has actually halted aid shipments over to Ukraine, so not good news at all. This could definitely create a critical gap in supplies for Ukraine. Let's just think about Patriot missiles, for example, that are used to shoot down incoming projectiles into Ukraine, especially these cruise missiles that Russia launches a lot of times into Ukraine, ballistic missiles as well. There's going to be a lot of people losing their lives if we have a major gap in supplies. This is also going to allow the Russians to continue their advancement on the front line in the eastern and southern side of Ukraine as well. So definitely not good news, guys. We're going to jump on over to X now, and I want to show you more information regarding this story. Military News UA reports the U.S. has left Ukraine without Patriot SAM missiles and other critical weapons, according to NBC News. The White House confirmed to the halt in deliveries. According to the publication, the transfer of the following types of weapons was stopped: dozens of Patriot interceptor missiles, thousands of 155 millimeter artillery shells, over 100 Hellfire missiles, more than 250 GMLRS precision missiles, dozens of Stinger surface-to-air missiles, and dozens of AIM or AIM air-to-air missiles and grenade launchers is on hold. Okay, so what I'm noticing is a majority of this package is all like air-to-air missiles. Okay, so anything that's used to intercept drones or incoming missiles to their territory, any flying projectiles, they're going to have a hard time taking down a lot of these. And we've been seeing Ukraine actually getting really good at doing this. We've been seeing, sometimes 80, 90+% success rate at shooting down a lot of the incoming drones. But if they're going to be short on lots of this critical equipment that's used to shoot down these incoming drones and missiles, well, we're going to be seeing a lot of people losing their lives inside of Ukraine, like I mentioned. So it says here, White House spokeswoman Anna Kelly told the channel that the decision was made to put U.S. interests first. So now I completely understand that. I think every country should put their own interests first before helping anybody else out. Obviously, you got to help yourself before you can help other people, right? But at the same time, this is something we've seen coming out of the Trump administration, is they're definitely pulling a lot of support away from Ukraine. It definitely seems like in a lot of ways they might be siding with the Russians more than they're siding with Ukraine, and people are definitely to be very unhappy about this if you're a major Ukraine supporter. Now from Jay in Kiev, Kremlin praises Trump's move to cut Ukraine's air defenses. This was a report from Kiev Independent. Also, Kremlin welcomes partial pause in U.S. arms shipments to Ukraine, says it brings war's end closer. Yeah, it definitely brings the war's end closer, because if Ukraine doesn't have the supplies they need to hold the Russians back, they would eventually lose the war, right? But we know that the Kremlin, they want U.S. support and also the EU to stop flowing into Ukraine. That's one of their number one goals here, is they're trying to prevent a lot of these supplies from coming in. So obviously they're going to be happy about that, right? Now take a look at this from Savchenko Volodymyr. Ukraine's air defense weapon stockpiles will last only until the end of summer, after which a critical gap may arise that European countries are not yet ready to fill on their own, according to Bild. The suspension of PAC-3 supplies is especially critical. The only missiles capable of reliably intercepting Putin's ballistic missiles using Patriot systems supplied by Germany. The shortage of ammunition for HIMARS systems due to the suspension of GMLRS supplies threatens to significantly reduce the effectiveness of these multiple launch rocket systems. The suspension of AIM-7 missiles for F-16 fighters will deprive Ukraine of an important means of combating Russian Shahed drones, which strike Ukraine daily. The suspension of supplies creates two key problems. It complicates the protection of the civilian population and critical infrastructure, and also threatens stability of the front. This is what Bild magazine was reporting. I believe it's a magazine out of Germany. And they're just kind of talking about how, the effects of these supplies being halted to Ukraine is going to, put a major hamper on Ukraine's military and their ability to defend their skies and defend the front line from this Russian assault. So, depending on how long this pause carries on for, it could definitely cause some major problems for Ukraine's military. So not good to hear this. Now for Max 25, the U.S. warehouses have enough air defense systems and missiles for them. Negotiations on their supply to Ukraine, including on a commercial basis, are continuing, according to Mikhailo Podolyak. Okay, so he's actually a Ukrainian politician. That's what he stated today in regards to this situation, that apparently U.S. warehouses have enough missiles, to their armory. They've got plenty of them, apparently, according to him. And apparently they're still negotiating with the U.S. to continue these aid supplies. So we'll see what happens here. Definitely seems very fishy, and the timing of this, with Russia just attacking like crazy inside of Ukraine, this is really, really bad timing right now for the Ukrainians. Now for Max 25, we were hoping to receive these systems because they were promised to us. The halt increases the risk of attacks on civilians and complicates our planning, Financial Times quotes Ukrainian military official. The decision to delay the weapons deliveries was made in early June, but only came into effect recently. Yeah, so here's a report from Financial Times. U.S. halts some weapons deliveries to Ukraine. Reduction in supplies makes Kiev more vulnerable to Russia's escalating attacks. Yes, apparently we have this Ukrainian military official commenting today as well that was cited here by the Financial Times. Yeah, I guess they were hoping to receive these, but now it's going to make it difficult, for their planning. Any attacks that they want to carry out to hold the Russians back, and then on top of that, again, these constant aerial attacks that are happening every night. It's going to make it harder and harder every day, and Ukraine's going to have to really start to decide which targets they shoot down, which ones do they not. If they're going to have a shortage of, let's say, Patriot missiles, for example, they're going to have to decide which missiles get shot down and which ones don't. And they're going to have to really, ration a lot of their use of these weapons, considering that they're going to have these supplies completely cut off for right now. Now, for next, U.S. halting arms supplies. Ukraine's defense ministry demands answers. Media reports say the U.S. will stop supplying Ukraine with Patriot missiles and other ammunition. They're urgently needed by the U.S. itself, according to Politico. Kiev has not been officially notified. Ukraine's defense ministry has requested a phone call to clarify the details. Yeah, so apparently the Ukrainians had no idea about this. Okay, this was apparently planned, maybe 2 to 4 weeks ago ish, somewhere in there. And yeah, then all of a sudden, now this is being announced, and Kiev didn't even know about this. So now they're demanding answers. They want to have the U.S. Administration clarify all the details here. Let us know what's going on. Why are you halting these supplies? And it's interesting too, because like the U.S. is not directly at war with anybody. Why would they necessarily need all these supplies? Are they expecting something to be coming here? That's something we're to discuss here in just a minute. Maybe there's a grander or a more grand plan here or scheme behind this for the reason of these supplies being halted to Ukraine. So definitely very fishy here. Now from Anton Gerashenko. Friends, this is very important. Please share this and send the information to media. The United States stopping the supplies of critically important air defense missiles and other weapons is a matter of life and death. If Ukraine runs out of missiles and air defense systems, Ukrainian cities will not have any protection against massive Russian strikes. I call on all friends of Ukraine to make every effort possible to resume supplies or allow urgent purchases of U.S. air defense systems and missiles for them. Thousands, millions of Ukrainian lives are literally at stake. I call on all journalists to ask about this at any press conference or other events connected with the U.S. administration, including U.S. embassies around the world. Please send media requests to the White House regarding the stop in supplies of critically important components to Ukraine. Thank you. And then he shared a video down here of a previous strike on Kiev when Kiev was under heavy attack one night. So I just wanted to show this to you guys because Anton Gerashenko, we actually share a lot of his reports. He actually lives in Ukraine, and he experiences a lot of these attacks over there, and he's always constantly reporting on them. We share a lot of his details, and I thank him for sharing this news for us, so that way I can get it out to you guys. So I just wanted to share, this personal report that he came out with here today in comments to these supplies from the U.S. that have been halted. So let me know what you guys think on this. Just wanted to share that personal message there for you. So now for Megatron Ron, breaking, Israel and the U.S. are preparing for a new war. A large number of U.S. military cargo planes landed at Ben Gurion Airport. Okay, so why are we talking about the Middle East? Okay, so the reason why I'm talking about the Middle East is because when this popped up out of nowhere, literally just not even 24 hours after we're hearing that the U.S. is halting military, aid to Ukraine. Okay, and a lot of these are critical components that would be used to shoot down incoming ballistic missiles or drones or whatnot. What did we see happening with Israel just a couple weeks back when Israel was attacking Iran? Okay, they were under constant attack by Iran as well. Iran was firing lots of ballistic missiles. We had massive devastation all across Israel from a lot of these missiles striking Israeli cities. So it makes you wonder, is the U.S. preparing for some sort of other war here in the Middle East? Are they not done with Iran yet, or what's going on over there? I have no idea. Could this just be, U.S. weapon shipments flowing into Israel to help them out with the depletion of a lot of their air defense systems? Because we've been hearing that Israel was very short on air defense around the time. That's also why they wanted to halt this war immediately as soon as possible, because Israel is just running out of air defense interceptors. So I don't know. I just wanted to tie this into the video just in case there happens to be something coming from this, because maybe there's going to be another war that's going to break out here again, or maybe they're not done with bombing Iran. Maybe that could be the grand plan here at the end of the day, and that's a large reason why a lot of these aid shipments could have been halted to Ukraine. But you guys can let me know what you think on that. And then this came out yesterday as well, and I want to show you this too. The Spectator Index. Breaking: Trump announces Israel's agreed to conditions to finalize a 60-day ceasefire in Gaza. So look at this. This was Trump yesterday on True Social. My representatives had a long and productive meeting with the Israelis today on Gaza. Israel has agreed to the necessary conditions to finalize a 60-day ceasefire, during which time we will work with all parties to end the war. The Qataris and Egyptians, who have worked very hard to help bring peace, will deliver this final proposal. I hope for the good of the Middle East that Hamas takes this deal, because it will not get better. It will only get worse. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So the reason why I'm showing you this as well is because it makes me think that, is the U.S. trying to buy some time here? They're trying to get a ceasefire in the war with Gaza because maybe Israel's going to get involved somewhere else and they got to pull all those troops away from Gaza. I don't know what's going on here. Again, I'm just kind of speculating and putting some things together, trying to figure out why the U.S. might also be halting aid shipments. Now, I understand the U.S. is saying that they have dwindling stockpiles, but at the same time, could that just be a cover story, but maybe there's something going on in the background? Now, you guys can let me know what you think, but is it possible that this could be tied to what's going on in the Middle East? Is this war not over with yet? Is it about to pick back up? And the U.S. is going to now start flowing a lot of aid back into Israel, and they can no longer send it to Ukraine? I think it could be a possibility, but you guys let me know what you think, because we saw this happening before. There was some critical aid that was halted from Ukraine that was supposed to be going to Ukraine, and they ended up sending it to Israel. So we're kind of seeing the same thing building up again. So share your thoughts on that one. Now from Bliskovka, Russia shelled a hospital in Kersonen with artillery at around 11 p.m. yesterday, reports the regional military administration head Alexander Prokudin, if I'm saying that right. The building of the health care facility was destroyed by the enemy attack. 5 patients and 3 nurses were injured, the statement said. So yeah, another attack here on a hospital in the city of Kersonen down in southern Ukraine, and artillery striking this hospital directly, causing massive damage here. And this is something we're going to see a lot inside of Ukraine here very soon if the Ukraine runs out of critical weapons that they use to defend their skies. So expect to see more of this. So very sad to hear this report of another hospital in the city of Kersonen that has been destroyed due to Russian attacks. Now for Max 25, Luhansk Oil Depot, consequences of the strike on July 1st. Okay, so yesterday, if you guys remember during our update video for the Russia-Ukraine war, just like you're watching here today, we reported that the Luhansk Oblast was suffering major missile attacks from Ukraine, okay? And allegedly there was an oil depot that was hit, at least one. So this is a video coming out showing what appears to be an oil depot there in the distance that is on fire. So just wanted to share that with you guys. We did talk about that yesterday, but I wasn't able to completely confirm that. Max 25 here is showing a video possibly indicating an oil depot on fire there in the distance. Now for Max 25, unconfirmed info from Russians. Okay, so take a look at this. It was on Telegram, probably a Russian mill blogger. And it says here, this is war in Crimea as a result of a vile attack by the main intelligence directorates of the Ministry of Defense. Vice Admiral and Commander of the Black Sea Fleet, Idar, I don't know if it's Idar Fernandovich Akhmetov, if I'm saying that correctly, was killed. Details will be later. We must take revenge. We are waiting for a response from the decision-making centers. Okay, so yesterday, Ukraine did launch a pretty significant missile attack onto Crimea as well. Now, they attacked like eastern side of Ukraine and the occupied territories. They attacked inside of Russia, primarily in like the southwestern area, like Krasnodar Krai area, Rostov, Astrakhan region inside of Russia. There was missiles just going everywhere. So allegedly, we could have had this commander of the Black Sea Fleet that was also killed in attacks down in Crimea, is what I'm thinking. So just wanted to share that with you guys. Not sure if that's completely confirmed yet. Apparently, it's unconfirmed according to this information from Max 25. So that could have been something that happened yesterday as well. We also had a colonel from Russia's military as well that was also killed in the Donetsk region. So that could be another major commander of Russia's military that could have been taken out here. That would have been 2 major commanders in Russia's military as of yesterday. Now from Bliskovka, the general staff refuted the fake news about the capture of the village of Dokhny in the Dnipropetrovsk region. The general staff stated that the information about Russian flags being raised in the village of Dokhny is not true. Fighting is only taking place within the Donetsk region. Earlier, Russian sources distributed a video from the allegedly occupied territory. Okay, so this is an update on a story I gave you guys yesterday. We talked about the fact that the Russians have been pushing into the Dnipropetrovsk region, that they've apparently made it into the city of Dokhney. This would be right here. We did a whole video on this yesterday. And this is the Donetsk region down here, and this dotted line represents the border between the Dnipropetrovsk region and Donetsk region. And this is a map from Deep State indicating that the Russians could be inside the Dnipropetrovsk region because it's now a gray zone beyond this border of the Dnipropetrovsk region coming from the Donetsk region. So, yeah, now we've got a report here that Ukraine's general staff is refuting this claim and saying the Russians have not made it into the Dnipropetrovsk region. So we didn't have that information yesterday. Just wanted to update you guys on that. Now for Max 25, 4 UAV production workshops damaged at Izevsk plant Kupol after yesterday's attack. Work at the plant has been suspended, according to Astra. 3 Kupol employees were killed. Another 45 were injured, 35 of whom were hospitalized. Yeah, this was a massive attack yesterday. This was our main update for the Russia-Ukraine war yesterday. We talked about this Kupol plant producing air defense systems. We're talking TOR, M2Es, and OSA air defense systems. Also, they produce Harpia attack drones that enter into Ukraine almost on a nightly basis. This was damage to this facility here, taking major destruction to the top of the building. It even caught on fire, was hit multiple times by drones. So these were just some pictures coming out showing the devastation here at this plant. Look at all the windows blown out and everything here too. Looks like they're going to be shut down for some time. Now for Max 25, Germany to begin mass inspections of shadow Russian tankers in the Baltic Sea, according to Reuters. Starting July 1st, German authorities will begin requiring tankers to provide information on insurance coverage in the event of oil pollution damage. Okay, this is interesting. So yeah, Germany's going to start mass inspections of shadow Russian tankers in the Baltic Sea. I mean, it's about time they start doing that as well. I think they should be checking all these oil tankers, frequently to make sure that they are not trying to bypass sanctions from the EU. So yes, starting July 1st, actually already in effect as of yesterday. And yeah, German authorities will start requiring these tankers to provide information on insurance coverage, okay, especially if we happen to have some sort of oil pollution or spill. And we even had a report yesterday or the day before, actually, I think it was on Monday, that we had another Russian oil tanker that reportedly exploded in the Mediterranean Sea. And we've been hearing so many reports of that. These things are sinking. They're complete rust buckets. They're not well taken care of. They don't have proper insurance, nothing. They're definitely a major threat to the environment. And at the same time, Russia's using these to circumvent sanctions and continue selling oil around the world. Now for Max 25, the Russians will not be able to launch 400 to 500 Shaheeds every day, but sometimes after accumulation, unfortunately, they will have such an opportunity, according to Budanov. So Kirill Budanov here, the head of Ukraine's HUR, their military intelligence directorate, he's also stating here today that the Russians are not going to be able to launch 400 to 500 drones every day. We've been hearing that the Russians are massively producing their drones right now, and they could start launching massive attacks into Ukraine every single day. So he's stating that the Russians don't have that capability, but if they start to accumulate them, they could definitely launch, 400 or 500 a night, but it just won't be happening every day for right now, which is good news. But at the same time, I mean, 400 or 500 drones a night is a lot of drones. I mean, just a year ago, if we were to say 100 drones attacked Ukraine, that would be considered a lot. Now we're seeing minimum, sometimes 100 a night, but a lot of times upwards of 2, 3, 4, or even 500 drones going into Ukraine. So that's a report from Budanov today. Now, war translated, Latvia is sending a new batch of military aid to Ukraine. It will include 42 Patriot 6x6 armored personnel carriers, spare parts, weapons, and ammunition. So I wanted to throw this one in here because this was actually reported yesterday. These Patriot armored vehicles or APCs are going to be sent over to Ukraine, 42 of these, okay? And this will be really good for the Ukrainian military. They can start utilizing these on the front line, and it will protect their troops and be able to get some of their wounded soldiers out of there or whatnot too. So very good news out of Latvia, going to be sending these over to Ukraine, 42 of these Patriot armored vehicles. Armored personnel carriers, that is, excuse me. Now for Max 25, new sanctions against Russia are currently in the final stages of negotiations with the Slovak government. A compromise will be reached, Merz says. He also expressed confidence that soon American lawmakers will support Europe with new anti-Russian sanctions. Okay, this was Friedrich Merz, the German chancellor. He was in an interview today, and these were some of the statements he was making here that Yeah, new sanctions, from the EU. We're hearing about this 18th package of sanctions that right now they're still trying to work this out. Slovakia and I think Hungary, they're really trying to block that. They don't want to allow it, but they're trying to negotiate with the Slovak government to try to get them to approve this package so that way they can impose this 18th package sanctions onto Russia. And also, he's stating that pretty soon American lawmakers will start supporting new sanctions as well. And we've been hearing there was a report on Monday, I think Lindsey Graham, the senator that's kind of putting forth that major bill within the Senate to support 500% sanctions onto any countries that purchase Russian oil. He stated on Monday that apparently Trump is on board with it and they're going to try to get it pushed through soon. But again, actions speak louder than words. Let's see when the Senate actually starts moving it forward. But right now, they're focusing on the big, beautiful bill, if you guys have been hearing about that. Now, war translated, the supply of long range Taurus missiles to Ukraine has been and remains an option. Ukrainian troops must undergo training, and this has not yet been discussed, says German Chancellor Friedrich Merz. He emphasized that the West will no longer publicly discuss issues of military support for Ukraine in order to maintain a certain degree of certainty for Putin. This was also something he stated here in this interview today that, yeah, they're still open to sending these long-range cruise missiles, the Taurus missiles, over to Ukraine, but they're stating that Ukrainian troops still need to undergo training, that it could take 6 months or so for them to start training for those. So, we could be a year's out away before Ukraine even starts receiving these. But at the same time, we know that Germany is classifying their weapon shipments over to Ukraine. So maybe he's just stating that here, and Ukraine already has been training on these weapons, and maybe they're going to be receiving them very soon. We don't really know because a lot of it's classified at this time. Now, from Ukrainian Review, Putin has abandoned the idea of a ceasefire and has not changed his position on the war in Ukraine, according to Emmanuel Macron, the French president. This is what he informed Zelensky. So there was a story yesterday that Macron allegedly held a phone call with Vladimir Putin. Macron was urging Putin to, end this war, reach a ceasefire with Ukraine. And apparently that was a major statement that came from Putin, that Putin is not open to a ceasefire at all anymore. And he has not changed his position, on the war in Ukraine. He still wants to continue fighting against Ukraine and at the same time does not want a ceasefire anymore. So it looks like ceasefire talks are at a dead end, and we're not going to be seeing Ukraine and Russia negotiating anytime soon, is what I'm thinking. They've been talking about trying to set up another meeting again to have Ukrainian and Russian delegations meet, possibly in Istanbul, but we have not heard anything beyond that. That was like a week ago when that was coming out, and I haven't heard anything since. So there's your report there regarding negotiations. Now from NOAA reports, overnight Russia launched 4 S-300 missiles from Kursk and 114 drones or Shaheeds and decoys by 9 p.m. Ukrainian air defense neutralized 79 UAVs, 40 shot down, 39 suppressed by electronic warfare. Okay, so 118 projectiles in total going into Ukraine overnight, 114 of them being drones. So see, pretty much every night, right around 100 drones or so going into Ukraine, which, again, just about a year ago, that was pretty high numbers. We usually see 50, 70 or something. Now we're seeing 100 plus every night on average. And, sometimes these numbers jump up to 300, 400, 500 a night, just like we saw just about maybe 3 to 4 days ago inside of Ukraine. So, yeah, definitely not good news, guys. I mean, Ukraine's still under heavy attack pretty much nightly from these drones and missiles, but nothing like we saw a few days ago. Now from Kiev Independent, these are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of July 2nd, according to the Armed Forces of Ukraine. And our final update of the day, Russia's losses as of July 2nd, 1,110 troops, 3 AFVs, 90 vehicles and fuel tanks, 2 tanks, 40 artillery systems, 73 UAVs, and 1 anti-aircraft warfare system. So once again, guys, still pretty low numbers here. We've been seeing this for well over a month now, I want to say. Artillery systems up a little bit, usually about 20, 30 on average we see there. And same thing with troop numbers. We've been seeing about 900 or so, 1,000 at the most. We got 1,100 here, just a little over 1,100 over the last 24 hours. Vehicles and fuel tanks, tanks and AFVs still down quite a bit. And looks like Russia not launching as many attacks with vehicles because we're not seeing a whole lot of them being destroyed right now. But yeah, guys, just want to give you your update there on Russian losses today. And I want to thank you very much for tuning in for this very big update today. And we're going to see how things play out here in the future How long is this pause on weapon shipments to Ukraine going to carry on for? Is this going to be for days, maybe weeks? And I think the longer that it goes on, the worse it's going to get for Ukraine, as it doesn't look like that the EU is going to be ready to step up and fulfill all these weapon shipments for Ukraine, or do they have the capabilities of doing that yet? It doesn't seem like it, but we'll see what happens here moving forward. So I want to thank you guys very much for tuning in for today's update on July 2nd, 2025. And I hope you guys all have a great day today. Let me know what you think about all these details down below in the comment section. That's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.